Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
Welcome to Criminality episode number 4.
Hi, Rebekah.
Hi, Melissa. I can't believe we're at episode 4 already.
I know. In ways, it feels a lot longer. In some ways, we're just flying right through it.
Exactly. The 2 weeks between episodes does feel a little long. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's good. It's like, I think, we're leaving people wanting more, hopefully. And I feel like I want more, Melissa. I'm like, I can't wait to talk to Melissa again.
I mean, I get that a lot. I have to be totally honest. That's something that comes up even in my own household. Everybody's like, please, Melissa, talk more. Mom, I need you more. Yeah, that comes up a lot. But yeah, me too. I'm always like, is this the week? And then my friend Stacy writes me and is like, I don't see your show. I'm like, again, we got to wait 2 more weeks. I'm sorry.
I know. I think we might find some fun ways to fill in on the other Fridays, though. We can talk more about it later, but maybe we could do something fun on social.
That sounds like a great idea. I'd love it.
Yeah. Okay, good. So Fridays will be our day. There might not be a new episode every time, but we'll chat or we'll get online or we'll do something interactive. So I think that will be fun because Fridays are, even in quarantine, Fridays mean something.
Oh, see, I was thinking Fridays don't. It's just another notch
Really?
on that day. Well, I just am very boring. So to me, I'm like, there's not really any good shows on, and that's where it ruins it.
Well, except for Criminality in terms of podcast show.
See, I'm even confused by the every 2 weeks thing. I've already forgotten.
I know. I don't know why. Even in this season of like being home every day, I'm still like, well, it's Friday. Like at least there's that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I get that. I think it's more disappointment because all of like my Bravo shows are off. Nobody's playing anything Friday. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to think of something new to do. I'm not going to read. I'm going to definitely look for a new TV show. I'm
going to see what Netflix suggests.
Exactly.
Okay, well then let's get right to it.
I'm excited.
I don't want to keep you waiting anymore. I'm actually going to start today's story with a question, and it's for you, Melissa.
Ooh, okay. Was not prepared. Go ahead.
It's an easy one. What's your favorite Housewives franchise?
Okay. I would have told you Real Housewives of New York, and it really is, but Potomac is up there, and they are killing it. So
yeah.
For longevity, I would say New York, but Potomac is ready to take their crown. I'm loving Real Housewives of Potomac.
That's a great answer, especially because my answer is New York, and I'm doing New York, so good answer either way. And I need to get on the Potomac train. Like that might actually be the weekend plan. But today I am talking about the Real Housewives of New York, a housewife in particular. She's a housewife I think a lot of people would envy. She's beautiful. She's rich. She is so rich, Melissa. She's old money, founding father in her lineage rich.
Oh.
And she's Ivy League educated. So the question today becomes, how could a bona fide it girl of the early aughts end up on Real Housewives of New York with the debut tagline, "A good set of lashes can fix anything, even a mugshot"? That's right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know by now who we're talking about.
I got it.
You want to say who?
Oh,
I'm going to let you.
Oh, sorry. I'm like, it's your show. Tinsley Mortimer.
Yes. I'm really going to be quizzing you all day.
I'm on it.
So I do have another question. Do you know, because I feel like everybody knows Tinsley had a mugshot. Like she didn't keep that a secret coming on the show. It's been seen around the world twice. But do you know why she got a mugshot? Do you know what her actual charge was?
I have no idea. It's not a crime against her eyebrows, even though I think it should be because that mugshot is – I'm always
criminal.
like, you could do better. But yeah, I honestly don't have any idea.
Yeah, the eyebrows are – I'm looking at them. You can too because it's my virtual background.
Yes.
They are so severe. They could cut a room.
Yeah.
cut the tension in a room. So her charge, many people thought it was stalking, but it's actually trespassing. There is a difference. I talked to a lawyer friend, and stalking is you have to have some premeditation and some leading up behavior. Trespassing is just like you are where you should not be.
Okay.
And that is what Tinsley became very guilty of. And we're going to get there. I'm going to take you all the way there. It happened in 2016. But I think to understand the context around why that happened, we have to go back in time to Tiny Tinsley and like her upbringing.
Tiny Tinsley.
But even before that, I think it's worth spending a minute on Real Housewives of New York mugshots.
Always.
Just alone. And I dressed for the occasion.
I love it so much, Rebekah. It's
I can't wait till you're twinning with me. We both have a mugshot t-shirt made by a great creator. I'm going to put her in the show notes because her stuff is so cute. And I don't want to say it wrong, but it appears to be her handle on Instagram, Ether_Opal. It looks like Esther, but there's no S.
Maybe the
Ether?
S is yeah.
Either _Opal.
Yes.
But we're going to put it in the show notes. And she makes really cute Bravo related merch.
Yes.
Including this shirt, which has some of the best New York Housewives mugshots. So how many New York Housewives do you think have mugshots in all across all seasons? And their mugshot could have happened prior to their appearance on the show. So in total, across seasons, how many would you say?
Okay. From your shirt, I can see 4 faces. So I'm going to go with 4.
That's a good guess, but there's actually 6.
Whoa.
So who's missing? Oh, I know who's missing. I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
So we're going to go sequentially. So in 2002, the first to get a mugshot would be Leah McSweeney. She threw a water bottle at a cop. She tells that story when she comes on this show, right?
And throws a torch just in the yard.
She throws stuff when she does not like what's going on. After that, it would be 7 years before we got another, but 2009, Kelly Ben Simone was charged with assault against then-boyfriend Nick Stefanoff.
Okay, that actually is very familiar. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. So another mugshot, and that happened in New York City as well. And then the third one, which our Miss Morgan does not talk about much, but in 2010, she did have a DUI from the Hamptons. Kind of par for the course.
Yeah. Was she wearing a diaper at the time? Because I feel like that could have really accentuated her mugshot. I love her diaper wearing skills.
If she spent any time in jail, that would have been a good move.
Yeah, there you go.
To avoid the toilets. So that was the third one. Fourth would be Tinsley, who we're going to talk about. That was trespassing in 2016. Next, just shortly after, 2017, of course, would be Luann, who hers might be the only one whose is stronger and more well-known than Tinsley's.
Right.
Her charges were battery on a law enforcement officer, resisting arrest with violence, disorderly intoxication, and corruption by threat.
Ooh.
So also the most serious of charges and the most high quantity of charges. And then last, I don't even remember hearing this, in 2020, Jules was charged with battery against her ex-husband, Michael.
That is one of those stories that from an entertainment standpoint, I wanted to see where it went. But from oh my gosh, this is such a mess. Please leave these people alone. I was glad she didn't come back because their story unraveled very quickly whenever she left.
I think it was pretty dark and pretty dramatic. And I mean, it was 2020. So hard to get a news headline to break through last year. And also, I mean, anyone who remained married for 2020 probably could have been charged.
No kidding.
But here we are.
Actually, I thought it was a few years ago. I didn't know it was.
No, it was recent. It was recent. It was just last year.
Okay.
Yeah. So those last 3 all happened in Florida, and the first 3 all happened in New York, which I think is interesting because, Melissa, you and I are reporting live from New York and Florida. Are we going to be next?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. If I go to New York and you come to Florida, I think that's kind of how it is. It's a little trade-off there.
Yeah, I think we just raise hell when we travel to the other state. Yeah, so that's the mugshot story for Real Housewives of New York. So this is like going to be great TV because this is what the people on it are capable of, right? But the history of the show is that it actually was not supposed to be the Real Housewives of New York City. It was originally named Manhattan Moms. Bravo ordered a bunch of TV shows, just 6, in 2005, and this was one of them. It was going to follow, quote, an eclectic group of Gotham socialites and their families. But they started filming and they saw it taking a different direction and felt like this would be a good extension of the OC Housewives brand. They called it The Real Housewives of New York City in January of 2008. And I think we can both agree that was a good move.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, and then it spins off everything. Then they realize this can work other places. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. And then spin-offs of not just the Housewives, but of specifically Roni would be Bethany Ever After and Bethany and Frederick. She got a lot of airtime, not to mention building her brand, appearances on The Apprentice. Like, she really took this show and like made an empire.
Absolutely. Yeah. Be strong.
Be strong, or just be.
Yeah, there's just a lot of be. I'm like, you're really setting yourself up for people to fill in the blanks there in a not so great way.
And I'm sure she knows that because she is no dummy. Whatever you can say about Bethany Frankel, she is super smart. But today's story is not about her. So this is fun. I wanted to tell you this. There was also, this isn't so much a spinoff, but in 2016, a tour company started like a Real Housewives of New York themed tour you could take if you were visiting New York City. You probably know about this. So they give passengers a 4-hour trip around the city to numerous places where current and former housewives have dined, shopped, dated, or had a fight. It's described as the ultimate one-of-a-kind Real Housewives experience. And I just would like to put out there, I don't know what they charged for this, but I could do one for half the price. And can't guarantee a sighting, but I have had several Sonia Morgan sightings. I used to live very close to her, one of which I shared excitedly to you in pictures. And I've seen Dorinda more than once because her boyfriend lived in my old building. John lives in Queens, if you remember, and I live in Queens. So I used to live on the Upper East Side, then I live in Queens. And so John was in my building, but I didn't even know it. I never saw him except for once in the elevator, but I saw Dorinda outside a restaurant we frequented, and she was always smoking out on the bench in front. And so I've had a few sightings. So I'm just saying, come with me. I'll walk you by the places I know. We may or may not see anyone. I won't charge you that much, but we'll have fun.
Okay, I'm on board.
Okay. Just need a name. Just need to come up with like a whole brand around it. I think it's a good alternative for people. Okay, but we're really here to talk about Tinsley. So she wouldn't join this cast until 2017. She was fresh off this crime and the fallout from the mugshot. But so much more was happening that we really wouldn't find out in that season. She kind of drops hints and like veiled references to this abusive relationship, but we really don't find out what happened. But I think when she appears on the scene, I think viewers, myself included, and certainly the other housewives looked at her like, is she going to be able to deliver? Like, she was against some serious Bravo heavyweights, right? At this time, the cast was Bethany Frankel, Carol Raswell, Ramona Singer, Sonia Morgan, Dorinda Medley, and Luann de Lesseps. Like, that's intimidating. They're also very established on the show. They're strong personalities. Tinsley comes in, and she is vulnerable but chipper. She's unapologetic about her mugshot and happy to report that her eggs are frozen. Oh, my gosh. I think Dale and Sonia are the only other people happier than her about this. I rewatched the whole 9th season. And first of all, I cannot recommend that season more. It is such good TV. So good. Season 9 gave us watching them watch Donald Trump win the presidency. Mention it all in the Berkshires. That happened on season 9. I'll tell you how I'm doing. Not well, B. Yeah. We got that. And the Tom and Luann, will they, won't they marry storyline. That was season 9. I mean, that was like, I mean, reality TV aside, that was just a great storyline and plot. Like, I'm very sorry to Luann for how tumultuous that was. Right. Although she's a big girl and makes her own choices. That was just great TV.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, it ends up in Tequila, Mexico on that trip. And there was so much. I mean, that's when you just love these women because they fight so hard, they play so hard, and they make up. I mean, they really make up. Yeah. Like make out and make up. Yeah. So that was that trip. So I was really struck by how candid Tinsley was about wanting to return to her former glory days. Like, she wasn't there to reinvent herself so much as she was trying to go back to when she was an it girl, back to when she was being photographed for doing the things she loved, not for trespassing. And that's only part of the story. And I would say it's the more TV-friendly part. So who is Tinsley really? We know her as Tinsley Mortimer, but that's only because of her marriage, which we'll get to. She was born Tinsley Randolph Mercer in Richmond, Virginia. She lived in the largest home in Central Virginia. Of course, the estate had a name. It's called the Graymont. Her father was a real estate investor, but they come from a very wealthy family. It's a carpet business. Some people, when they're saying it in like
Jill Zarin?
Kind of. No, it seemed like no, it's weird though. You're right. There is a carpet dynasty there too, but this is more like carpet cleaning. But I think its origins were more like tapestry and making them. And then it evolved into honestly, it's a cleansing company. It's a rug cleaning company, but you can make a lot of money on that when you're the only one in town 300 years ago or whatever.
So if you put Dorinda's John and Jill Zarin together, you get Tinsley, right? The cleaner, the rugs, put them together, and now we have Tinsley, the carpet cleaner.
I'm calling for a paternity test. I think everything I read on Wikipedia is a lie. She's their love child. Yeah, your clothes and your rugs are in good hands if you are friends with Tinsley or John. So Dad's a real estate investor on top of having this family money. And Mom Dale. We know Dale. We'll talk more about Dale. She's an interior designer. And she is a descendant of, wait for it, Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of money we're talking about.
Whoa.
So his full name is actually Thomas Jefferson Randolph. So that name is in Tinsley's given name. So this explains her lineage a bit. So Dale is also a descendant of John Mercer. No name recognition there. That's not Thomas Jefferson. You shouldn't know who he is, but he is the lawyer who created codes for the laws of the state of Virginia. So her family was very important. I mean, if you go to Virginia, universities are named after Thomas Jefferson, of course, and John Mercer also is a recognizable Virginia name. What it says there is that they weren't the earliest settlers, like the original colonial people. They were European descendants who came to Virginia early on with tons of money, but not the very, very first. But they're almost like their own monarchy in Virginia.
Yeah.
Like they're looked at as royalty within the state. Tinsley has one sibling, a younger sister named, couldn't be anything but Dabney. And I mean, what else would her sister's name be? She has a much lower profile, and we know a lot less about her. But I did discover a couple fun tidbits that I have to share because they're reality TV connected. So Sister Dabney dated Prince Lorenzo Borghese of the Borghese Cosmetics family dynasty, who was a bachelor in 2006.
Wait, like on The Bachelor, or he was just a bachelor?
He was the bachelor. He was the bachelor.
What? I have no name recognition for that one at all. Wow.
I don't watch The Bachelor, but I was hoping you would go, oh my gosh, yeah, Lorenzo. No, not ringing a bell?
No, I don't.
Right.
I have like a very distant relationship with The Bachelor. Like I typically know who's there. I recognize names, and Lorenzo, if it's not Lamas, I guess I don't know.
There you go. So she dated him, and she went to Episcopal High School, which is a boarding school, with a member of the Southern Charm cast.
Who?
I want you to guess.
Okay. Okay, Southern Charm cast. Who would? Oh, Shep. Would it be Shep?
Of course, it's Shep Rose.
Okay.
So he and his family have known the Mercers for decades. So it says a lot about who they are. I think this is like blue blood, waspy, Southern rich families. The girls, Dabney and Tinsley, were groomed to have manners. They became debutantes, and they were supposed to marry well, but their education was prioritized. The girls attended all Catholic schools. Then they went to boarding schools, but they went to different ones. So Dabney, of course, went to the one with Shep, and Tinsley attended boarding school in New Jersey at the Lawrenceville School, where it's just a couple miles from where I grew up. I grew up in Princeton, and Lawrenceville is like a town over, and Lawrenceville School is one of the country's most prestigious boarding schools. I did not go there. But I do know people who did, and there probably would have been in the class like beneath Tinsley. So that's kind of exciting. So it's really going to the Lawrence School that Tinsley is Tinsley Mortimer, right? Because it's there that she meets Robert Livingston Topper Mortimer. His father is president of American Standard Oil, but he's not just the president. Standard Oil is his family's company. So they're an oil family, and he just happens to be president of it. So this is not just a guy with a great salary. He's a guy with an oil empire behind him.
Whoa.
Topper's mom, Senga Mortimer, is a longtime editor at House Beautiful. The Mortimer family traces its origins back to John Jay, who was the nation's first Chief Justice and for which the School of Criminal Justice in New York City is named for. I don't know if you know of John Jay School of Criminal Justice, but it's where many prominent lawyers, judges, and people in that realm have gone to school. Wow. And what's really cool, it's actually part of the City University of New York umbrella, so it's a very affordable school. It's a public university. Okay. So this is like a really wealthy family whose names are on lots of things in New York City, kind of like Tinsley's family in Virginia.
Right.
Topper's family is that in New York City, but is considered more prestigious because it is New York City and not Virginia, right? That's just the elitism of whatever. I didn't make the rules. So I guess Topper is a family name. I couldn't find a relative with it because I don't know why they would shove it in the middle of his name and then call him that.
Yeah. I feel like they had a few other options before they landed on that one.
Yeah, we've got Robert, could have been a Bobby, a Rob, but they went with Topper. And it ends up working out for him because when he starts dating Tinsley, they are known among their classmates as Top and Tins.
Oh, gosh. That's just an eye roll.
Can you, imagine having... I mean, this is just their world. It's perfect. Top and Tins. And they kind of are the it couple at their boarding school, and they are head over heels in love. They end up getting married at age 18 while they're in high school, and they elope. Topper's family made him go to the Dominican Republic to get it annulled. Not sure why they couldn't do that in the States. So I think Tinsley's family was actually fine with it because Dale really valued marrying well and, if possible, marrying higher up in the social ladder. Tinsley was they were not at the bottom, but there were places to go, and Topper's family was that. So they were fine with it, but they did have to get it annulled. But the couple stayed together. Now, the Mortimers are different from the Mercers. They're very private. They're notoriously tight-lipped. And there's actually a famous saying among the family, and it's that you should only be in the paper 3 times: when you're born, when you marry, and when you die. Well, that's a little different from Tinsley's philosophy on life, who likes to get into the paper anytime possible. But Tins and Top marry again in 2009 at age 26. And this time they were in the paper, a wedding announcement in the New York Times section, of course. They could not seem to give each other up, even though they were kind of growing apart and they were changing. Before their second marriage, Tinsley went to college in North Carolina at UNC Chapel Hill, but Topper went to NYU. Tinsley decided she wanted to be closer, so she transferred to Columbia University, and she went on to get her BA in art history, and then she got her Master's of Decorative Art at Cooper Hewitt, which is part of the Smithsonian Institution. So she's no slouch when it comes to intelligence. Of course, her family connections and money probably helped get her in, but she did the work. Right. She got the degrees, and she's ambitious too. She does not have to work, but she chooses to, and we'll get to some of the jobs she had. So she obviously is somebody also who leverages her privilege, right? She was born into money. She marries into more money, and she's white and she's blonde. And by most people's conventional standards of beauty, she's very, very pretty. And that does not hurt her chances of success. So when she marries Topper again at 26, she could just stay home and do the housewife Upper East Side circuit thing, but she doesn't. She's a beauty assistant at Vogue magazine and then an event planner for a public relations firm called Harrison and Schriftman. She designs a handbag collection called Samantha Thavasa by Tinsley Mortimer, and it's sold exclusively in Japan. She's huge in Japan, tons of fans, back in the day.
What does this remind me of? Gretchen? Remember Gretchen and her... Gretchen Couture? No, that's Alexis Couture. But what was Gretchen's thing? Gretchen Christine or whatever? By somebody? I don't remember.
Yeah, so that, I guess I don't know a lot about this. If you remember, I didn't go to New York Fashion Week, but there's fashion houses, and then they basically hire a name underneath the house to be the designer. So Tinsley was designing, her name meant enough that this Japanese fashion house hired her to do this handbag line. And she actually went on a year later to do an entire clothing line, which was also sold exclusively in Japan. And at this time, she also became a beauty ambassador for Christian Dior, complete with a limited edition lip gloss inspired by her.
Whoa.
Quiz. Back to the quiz. What do you think the color was, and what was it called?
Okay. The color was pink for sure. And the name of it is...
Don't think too hard.
Oh, I was going to say Tinsley's Toppers, but I don't know.
That's very cute and more fun than what it is. It's just Tinsley pink. So before Housewives, before anything, she's like somebody, right? In the high-end fashion world, she's got a lip gloss named after her. She's a beauty ambassador. She has products being sold around the world. She worked at big places like Vogue and this PR company. Oh, fun fact, when I was Googling, could you still get Tinsley pink lip gloss? Because absolutely, if I could, I would. And yeah, you can't. It was like a limited edition thing just that year. A Google search turned up an article that's like, how to get Tinsley Mortimer's face in 15 easy steps.
What?
And I'm like, oh, wow. That was 2008. Like 10 plus years later, nobody has time for 15 steps. If like it takes that many steps, I make peace with my face. No.
This is what I got.
I have 3-step maximum. So, okay, during all of this rise to her career's success, she's going to parties through all these jobs, and she's attending them every night, and by all measures, doing very well for herself, but she wanted more. One night, she was at a Guggenheim Museum party, and she approached this publicist who was notorious for bringing up the next it girl. That was basically his job. His name is R. Curry Hay. Just R, like as an initial.
Is that a name? Why do people do that? Do you just get lazy?
To sound... No, I think he wanted to create a persona. R. Curry.
Get over yourself.
R. Curry Hay. Yeah, totally. And he's even quoted as saying, I had become well known for helping guide the social girls that wanted to be models or have products or be designers. So allegedly, according to him, Tinsley went up to him at this party and said, Corey, all I want to do is be a little socialite. So herein lies the complexity of Tinsley Mortimer, right? Like, she's obviously smart. She has brains and beauty. And if you're a feminist, then it's like, hey, each woman gets to decide her own path. She could have done a lot of different things, but that is what she wanted. And I think it's a big product of how she was raised and where she was raised. Right. It was just really important to her to have this persona of being an it girl and to be a socialite. So he said, sure, I'll help you, but the first thing you have to do is quit your job. No self-respecting it girl has a day job. And you don't want to work for a PR company. You want a PR company working for you. So she followed his advice. She quit the job. She obviously didn't need the money. And she starts going to parties and charities and fashion shows every single night. And her biggest job became making sure her photo was taken at each one. Designers began sending her clothes. And Tinsley used this new platform to elevate her name and the brands that she was still working with in a, consulting capacity, lending her name. She wasn't showing up to a desk every day, don't worry. And Topper did not love this. In fact, he told the New York Times, quote, it's not necessarily the type of goal anyone should strive for, going out every night for the sake of self-promotion, getting their pictures taken. I mean, these are girls who went to good colleges. You'd think they'd have something better to do. Yikes. Now, he's talking about a group of women, obviously, but he's including his wife in that. Right? So he's speaking generally, but Tinsley was at the center of what he was actually getting at. And so, not surprisingly, the couple divorces 2 years later in 2009. There were rumors that both of them were cheating on each other, and Tinsley didn't like that he was spending so much time with their kind of old post-college friends, still kind of acting a little fratty, going out and drinking at their favorite bar. Now, this was a fun fact. I don't know. We both have true crime podcasts, so I'm hoping you'll get this connection. But she didn't like that he was going so often to this specific bar called Dorian's Red Hand. Does that bar ring a bell?
What's wrong with
I'm
me?
wondering. No. You're like probably healthy and well-adjusted. For me, I was like, oh my gosh, Dorian's. That's the bar where Jennifer Levin met Robert Chambers, who was the preppy killer in the 1980s.
Okay, I can get
that
you
Central
there.
Park. Yeah, I knew you would know once I told you. It's a weird thing to remember, but I also have seen the bar in real life, so I know it. So I just thought that was a fun true crime connection. But their divorce is really when Tinsley's life got interesting. So we might know Tinsley as a Real Housewife of New York, but it was not her first reality show. Did you know that after a successful cameo playing herself on Gossip Girl, Tinsley ended up playing a socialite, i.e. herself, again on a short-lived CW show called High Society?
Wait, I've heard of High Society. No, I didn't know she was on that. Whoa.
I'm so glad. I was like, I don't know if I'm more excited for Melissa to know about it or to not know about it. So I'm kind of excited to tell you like information you didn't know.
Yeah, I promise you I have very little knowledge of Tinsley. So this is enlightening for me.
Yeah, and it says a lot, right? If she was in 2010 positioning herself to be on reality TV, I think that's what we learn a lot, right? When we see someone on a show, they've been on other shows. Right. They've been trying to get their foot in that door. So she not only was on it, she was one of the show creators. And this show is dreadful. It featured Tinsley, her sister Dabney, and their trust fund besties behaving really badly all over New York City, but mostly just the Upper East Side. It's when Tinsley was fresh off a divorce, navigating dating and her new life as a single woman in New York City. And if you think that sounds like her debut on Roni, it is, but different. Different guy, obviously. But it was really, I think she thought it was going to show her in a really positive light. But unfortunately, the people she kept close company with on the show were so offensive and so problematic. The show was quickly canceled after a season. And I think that show kind of did her in for a minute. And I think she thought it was going to do the opposite. It kind of tanked her. The show does not age well. We talk about this a lot, if shows age well or not. And just looking, I watched it on YouTube. It's shot really poorly. It's really insensitive. It's not smart or interesting, but worst or best of all, it left me with an audio gem that I would really like to play for you, Melissa, if you'd be willing to listen.
I can't wait.
I've been very excited for you guys to hear this.
Hi. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know. I love Harvey Weinstein. He's great. He is married to Georgina Chapman. Harvey is one of the most famous movie producers in the world.
Oh, Tinsley. Number one, I thought that was Tara Reid's voice. That really confused me right off the bat.
Good call. Yeah, there's a big time crossover there for sure. Yeah, that's Harvey Weinstein. He's a great guy. Now, look, hindsight is 2020. Sure. She probably did not know what we know now. But most people didn't say that about him even before all this. Like, he is such a lech. But anyway, it was a charity for his wife, so we're going to give her a pass because that would have been rude to say anything else. But I just thought, wow, this is a time capsule.
It really is.
If nothing else.
That's something, an audio clip somebody plays like with her mugshot later on, like she should have known. And then.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised I'm surprised I haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
And that she hasn't squashed that. But it lives on in infamy on YouTube, of course. Okay, so in 2012, Tinsley, the show is canceled. She needs to do something to kind of propel her career forward, to rebrand her image. And so she writes a book, of course. And it's not a self-help book, and it's not a modern girl's guide to manners, which is what I would have suggested she wrote. It's a novel.
What?
Yeah. And it's called Southern Charm, which, of course, predates the show, but, is on brand. And it's loosely, in air quotes I say, based on her own life, centered around a female protagonist named, wait for it.
Schminsley?
Would have worked. Minty Davenport.
Minty
Davenport. I mean, when Tinsley and Dabney, like, is it really that far-fetched? No. So I'll just read you a couple lines from the log line of the book. Minty Davenport has always dreamed of skyscrapers, yellow cabs, and a life like Eloise's in New York City. So upon graduation from college, she bids adieu to Charleston and makes a beeline for the Big Apple. Almost instantly, she finds herself at an event being photographed for Women's Wear Daily, and her career as New York Society It Girl is launched.
That is so much to take in at once.
I know. She had to dig really deep for this storyline. Yeah. And, the big conflict is that it's not what she thought it would be, and it was hard.
Right.
So I guess she had a great marketing team behind her. It's fairly well reviewed on Goodreads, 3- and 4-star averages. So I head over to Amazon, and that's where all the 1 stars are.
There you go.
My favorite 1-star review being, can't do it. Just that's it. Which reminds me of my review of the Anna Nicole show that you sent me.
Oh,
I tried.
You're like, can't do it. Sorry.
Can't do it. So, on Amazon when you're buying something and it's like frequently purchased with, or people who buy this also buy this. So 2 other books pop up by other Bravo celebrities. Any guesses whose books?
Bethany. I would say a Bethany book because I just feel like she has a ton. Please be a Vicky Gunvalson book because I just would love to see the 2 of them together.
No, those are really good guesses and would be good complementary pairs. But this was Next Level Basic, the definitive Basic B handbook by Stassi Schroeder, and Life on the Ramona Coaster by Ramona Singer. So those were often purchased together.
Ramona has a book? How did I not know that? Oh my gosh.
I almost feel like I spoiled a potential gift for you. Like I should have just, without any explanation, had this sent to your doorstep.
I would have considered it an act of war, I think.
I can only imagine what you would send in return.
Yeah.
So the book is like a moderate success, and she has a couple of brief romances before the one that would end up being the downfall to her crime. Those romances include Constantine of American Idol. Now, if you remember, Luann and Ramona were linked to this guy as well.
Yeah.
But he says he only officially dated Constantine. He was in Luann's Broadway show or off-Broadway show, her cabaret, as a singer, but they did not date. He is very clear about this.
It's one of the weirder like crossovers into Roni whenever all of a sudden you're like, hang on, that's a guy from American Idol that I don't even know that people really liked him. I couldn't figure out how he got so far, but I'm like, them?
I agree.
Her?
It seems very out of left field. It doesn't seem on brand for any of them.
No.
Least of all, maybe Tinsley, but his quote about her real upstanding guy says, what can I say? She was great looking, great personality, and had a great apartment. So,
yeah.
like, underwhelming.
Yeah. That actually sounds pretty much on brand for him.
Yeah, definitely. So that was short-lived. And then there was this European aristocrat, Germany's Casimir Kasi Wittgenstein Sane. Okay. He went by Kasi. He was the son of a German prince. So that feels a lot more in line with the kind of guy Tinsley would normally fall for. And he is featured on that season of High Society. And he is a royal, no pun intended, a-hole. Like, really not a nice guy at all. So glad that was over quickly. This is the point where Tinsley decides to go back down south, but not to Virginia. She decides to go to Palm Beach. Palm Beach is a big topic on Roni, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
And ends up being one of Luann and Tinsley's funnier moments where they argue about West Palm versus Palm Beach. This is fresh in my mind because I just watched, but it's such a funny moment. So it's there that she meets a man 10 years her junior named Alexander Fanjul. It's Cuban. That's how I'm saying it. Oh. He goes by Nico, and we'll call him Nico. So he is the son of Cuban-born parents, and he's younger than Tinsley. So it's not like he's a sugar daddy, but he is a sugar baron. His family's wealth is huge. It's estimated to be around $8 billion. And they're as wealthy, if not wealthier, than Topper Mortimer's family.
Constantine could never. He could
Constantine
never.
who? Constantine who? Tinsley has moved on, and she is very happy with this young, sexy Cuban guy in Miami. And it's interesting because there's a lot of similarities between Nika's family and Topper's. They really live a quiet, confidential life. They do not like being in the papers. They do not like Tinsley and her antics and her lifestyle.
Right.
But it's such a different story in that Nico's family is Cuban-born from Spanish ancestry, where the Mortimers are a genuinely blue-blooded family. Nico's family is Cuban-born from Spanish ancestry. Nico's father and his brother, Alfonso and Jose, who go by Alfie and Pepe, which I really love.
I love that.
Are owners of Fanjul Corporation. It's a huge sugar and real estate conglomerate in the United States and Dominican Republic. So they're in sugar. So Topper's family, oil. Nico's family, sugar.
Who knew there was so much money in sugar? I mean, I love it and would give my last dime for sugar, but I had no idea.
I think this is the lesson we can glean from people in these stories. It's like, go into something so everyday that you forget that it comes from a place in the ground and like make it, you got to make it.
Yeah. Can we paprika something? Can we make a paprika empire? I'm on board.
People are really into turmeric right now. Like maybe turmeric.
That's yeah.
So yeah, he is a sugar baron, and they own every company that puts out sugar. I didn't recognize any of the names except for Domino Sugar. So that's like the leading brand.
Right.
So that's them. Okay. So his Spanish ancestors bought a ton of land of Cuba and made sugar farms. And then his dad and uncle did the same thing in Florida. You could be surrounded by sugar farms. You don't even know.
I truly would not know. I mean, I feel like my nose would detect it because I'm so at peace and at one with sugar and carbs, but I don't know. I haven't found it yet.
Come on, kids. We're going sugar hunting. So there's just this incredible wealth in his family, and they're considered high society in Florida, and they're very connected socially and politically. Now, with a high-profile business comes a lot of scrutiny and criticism, and a lot of this is hurled towards Nico's family. Some say that their businesses have negatively impacted the environment, and their company was also the subject of a 2006 documentary called The 1%. in this documentary, it suggested that their industry, maybe even their company, is responsible for child labor and forced labor on these sugar farms. So the company responds and basically points to all the jobs they've created and how they've helped the economy and says, also we do a ton of charity and advocacy work. So cry me a sugar cube or something. I don't know. These are all claims. Like, I don't know that they're substantiated. Sure. I'm just saying what was said about them. Yeah. And the family didn't seem super bothered by it. But they did seem super charitable. I did see evidence of nonprofits and all kinds of things. Right. So Pepe and Alfie, the dad and uncle, are also friends with the ex-king of Spain, Juan Carlos, and have stated on various occasions that they'd be happy to receive the exiled king as a guest in any of their mansions around the world. I love that it's any of them. Like, he can even just pick. Don't worry, not the one we have. Like, we have 35. Right. You choose. This is like a timeshare situation. Exactly. And it isn't like, let's give him the crappy one. It's like any of them could be the best one. But is he going to stay in the lower level? You never know. I mean... It wouldn't be the first time royalty was relegated to the lower level, as we've seen on Roni. So yeah, Nico's family is kind of a big deal. Nico and Tinsley seem to have a great relationship. So Tinsley's a little burned out and is happy to have kind of a quieter relationship with Nico. They stay home and have dinner. They watch movies at home, and friends thought they were a little tumultuous, but mostly seemed happy. The real conflict in the relationship was that Nico's parents did not like Tinsley. They felt she was too old and just not good enough for him, frankly. And so the relationship ended up being a little secretive because he didn't feel he could really have her as part of his life with his family. And he was very close to his family. So sometimes the relationship did look a lot like hooking up, leaving before the morning, going places separately, then going together. They weren't out and about together. There's not even a lot of pictures of them together, which for Tinsley, is unusual. But if the 5 police calls between December 2013 and April 2016 are any indicator of what was to come, nobody should be surprised that Tinsley ended up with a mugshot. And honestly, this is a better outcome than what could have happened and what so often does. So in my opinion, the mugshot is probably the best thing that could have happened to Tinsley. Here's why. The first time police become aware of Tinsley and Nico's relationship was on Christmas Day in 2013. Tinsley was hospitalized for a head injury. Police were called to evaluate her. Now, this is unclear why. I'm thinking that doctors saw her and were like, this doesn't look right, and her story about tripping is not adding up. So police come and evaluate her, and according to their report, Tinsley was being treated for injuries that appeared to be both new and old, ranging from bruises on her arm to a laceration on the back of her head that was still bleeding. There was fresh blood in her hair. But on the left side of her face were yellow and green bruises, suggesting obviously those were older injuries. Tinsley's first story was that she tripped and fell, then confessed to the officers she'd tried to intervene between a fight between Nico and his brother Oliver. When she got in the middle of them, Oliver punched her in the eye. And for some reason, after Oliver struck Tinsley, Nico comes to the defense of his brother and yells at Tinsley. Yeah, so it escalates to where Nico covers her mouth and nose so she would stop screaming. Oh my gosh. This is their first documented fight, okay? And I'm going to just go out on a limb and say it probably wasn't their first. It's probably just the first on record. So Tinsley says she broke free after that and ran out of the house. At that time, she refused to press charges of battery against Nico, and the cop said that she made several references to how powerful his family is. I think she was afraid of upsetting them, and it was more important to her to keep the peace with Nico than to open up that issue with the family. Right. So just a week later, on New Year's Eve, police are called again to Nico's home. Nico called the police because of an unwanted guest. That would be Tinsley. Right. The cops arrived to find Tinsley locked in a bedroom, saying she was scared of him and she wanted to prosecute him over what happened a week ago. She'd changed her mind. So she's in the bathroom screaming, I changed my mind. I want to press charges. The police report says she appeared intoxicated. Her speech was slurred. And they took photos of both Tinsley and Nico, and they both had bruises and scratches on their chest, back, and face. Tinsley was issued with a trespass warning and sent home via taxi. She also changed her mind on the charges during this time. So it was, dramatic and a roller coaster ride. Now we can kind of get a taste of what their relationship is like. This is all in the span of a week. And that was her first trespass warning, which basically says you aren't wanted here by the homeowner and you can't come back. They sent her home safely via a cab. So despite this horrible day, the couple continues seeing each other over the next few months. And we don't know what happens in those months, but the next incident on record occurs in June of 2014. Police are called to Nico's home for an unwanted guest call again. And Nico was the one who makes this call. The cops arrive and find Tinsley outside, barefoot, very intoxicated, crying next to her mom's Land Rover, which she had been driving that evening. Tinsley and Nico had had dinner out, but they'd driven separately and were now coming back to his house afterward. They had gotten into an argument about a boat trip Tinsley had taken a few weeks earlier, and Tinsley said the fight escalated to Nico smothering her with a pillow.
Oh my gosh.
She was able to escape and ran outside and locked herself in her car. This is when she says he chased her, keyed the car, ripped off the windshield wipers, and used them to break the windshield. And we know it happened because she filmed it on her iPhone.
Oh my gosh.
When officers go into the bedroom where the original altercation took place, there were blood marks on one of the pillows. And they said Nico was highly intoxicated and totally uncooperative. Nico tells them he did not invite Tinsley back from dinner, so this is the real issue.
Okay.
And that's why they started fighting. Tinsley just drove there. Nico then asks the cops to leave and says, if you're not prosecuting or charging me, you can leave. Tinsley refuses to sign a sworn affidavit of prosecution. Again, she changes her mind. She won't prosecute him. She's left with bruises and scratches, and her dress is slightly torn. So that was June. Just after Christmas the same year, one fight was so bad neighbors got involved. So in another police report, police show up to Nico's house after receiving a call about a domestic dispute. In this report, a neighbor signed a statement that they saw Nico tackle Tinsley and, quote, push her head into the pavement.
Oh my gosh.
Nico responds to this by saying Tinsley attacked him first. And he has scratches on his chest and back and bruising above his rib cage. Later, the neighbor and Nico talk, and Nico says to him, I'm sorry you had to see that. So if we are to believe the neighbor witness, Nico admits that did happen and he did do it. Whether or not Tinsley instigated it or started the fight, we don't know. But I'm going to, again, venture to say this is not a fair fight. Nico is over 6 feet tall, very big, muscular in shape. Tinsley is, we know how small Tinsley is. Tiny Tinsley, even as a grown-up. And it's not a fair fight. Now, it's also not okay for a woman to physically strike or hurt their partner. This is what we know. Tinsley had, at the time of this incident, already left the home by the time the police came, and once again was issued another trespass warning. Despite admitting that this wasn't the first time Nico had attacked her and that she had scratched him in self-defense, she again did not wish to prosecute. So this is clearly a pattern.
Right.
Just a month later, following a similar incident, and this is the part where I felt like I was in deja vu because every single incident kind of goes the same way. It's called to the site, argument over whether or not she should be here. Both have evidence of a physical fight having happened. At this time, she was once again ordered not to trespass, and this time she was handled a criminal citation, which just means if you do this again, you're actually going to be fined and you could go to jail.
Right.
Please stop doing it. So I guess the press starts to get wind of this because that was such an official record. Maybe it was in the local paper. I don't know. But a reporter reaches out to Nicole Fanjul, Nico's mom, and they ask her, you know, is Nico abusing his girlfriend, Tinsley Mortimer? She denies the allegations of her son's abuse, and she is quoted as saying, it's all hearsay. And Tinsley's black and blue stuff is what she's done to herself or what somebody else has done to her. She hides in the bushes. She hides in her car. She puts cigarettes out in his face. Did anybody ever tell you that? This makes Fatal Attraction look like a cartoon. She's insane. This is a result of a woman scorned. She's going up against us and she's going down.
Yikes.
So yeah, you can kind of see why Tinsley did not want to upset the in-laws. I know they're not married, but like that does not seem like a mom you want to cross.
No, not at all. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so after this, the couple seemingly splits for good, and there are no known sightings of the two. But in April of 2016, there was a 911 call placed by Tinsley to the police. Now, it isn't what I thought it would be. I thought, and I was scared that it was going to be a Tinsley in distress calling in danger with Nico, but it wasn't. She wanted to get back on the property. According to her, she had left a bag and a wallet, and she just wanted to retrieve her items, but she knows that she cannot go on his property. Now, she decides the best course of action will be, let me call the police and tell them what I want to do, and maybe they could assist me in doing this. And unfortunately, this call would just be her downfall and not a great decision because they pull up who she is on the phone.
Yeah.
They see the record of how many warnings of trespass she got, the citation, and they know she's on the property because she's saying she's there. And they're saying, ma'am, you cannot go into his house. Now, you can come to the station. We will help you or escort you or help you figure this out, but you can't be there. And she's crying and she's saying, it doesn't matter. It's not trespassing. I'm his girlfriend. He's my boyfriend. Now, of course, we don't know if that's true, according to Nico. Were they together or not? It's debatable. But the point is, she wants into that house. And Nico's side of that story is that he's inside with a new girlfriend. Ooh. And she doesn't have a purse there. She just wants to get in. Probably the best thing that could have happened was him not allowing her in. And what ends up happening in this phone call is the police go to the site and she just can't get it together. She's so emotional. She can't hear what they're saying that they have to arrest her because she's just refusing to leave. She's not getting physical, but she won't get off the property without their assistance. And that is why she got arrested for trespassing.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now, the call is available. If you Google it, you can find it. She's really in distress. If you do end up listening to the 911 call, thankfully, there was no violent interaction. They did escort her to jail, which we'll get to. But it really gave me, it reminded me of Nicole Brown Simpson's phone call to the police because Tinsley was saying things like, you guys know me, you know me, this has happened before, this is what he's going to say, this is what he's going to do. And while the situations are not apples to apples, they both were in a domestically violent relationship, right? And that's why I say I'm actually really glad she called the police and said she was there because they got her and they swooped her out of there safely and nobody was hurt. So she ends up going to Palm Beach County Jail for 3 hours. Not a big deal. She was released quickly, but of course not without getting the famous mugshot, which would become infamous. And that's why, you know, you look at it differently after you know what happened. This was a woman really on the edge. And people's response to the mugshot was not kind, as you could imagine. One headline read, she lost her head over one of Palm Beach's richest, most eligible men, and she doesn't understand that the dance is over. And that was actually her society publicist.
Oh.
So not a friend. Another source says, Tinsley gets jealous and Nico can be a bully. He is aware of who he is and can push it around to a fault. So I think they were trapped in a really bad cycle.
Yeah.
And I do think if I were a law enforcement officer in that scenario, I might have done things differently. I don't know what the laws are in Florida, but it seems like he could have used anger management and possibly her too.
Yeah.
And I would think a restraining order might have been a little more, I mean, against Tinsley even. Like the trespassing thing did not seem to work.
Yeah, I don't really get that at all unless neither one of them, unless he's just saying, I just want her off my property and not wanting to pursue that because you can pursue that here. That's not crazy.
Right.
Like, for it to be trespassing every time is really weird to me.
It felt like they were just trapped in this weird cycle and it wasn't curbing the issue. It was beyond trespassing at this point,
Yeah.
but maybe because neither of them were pressing charges on the other, it couldn't go to the next level.
Right.
So her lawyer says she has, in response to all of this, that she was an invited guest to Nico's home on countless occasions. During this particular visit, she thought it was best to leave the home. She attempted to enlist the support of law enforcement to help retrieve her personal items. It was never her intent to cause any problems. This matter is highly personal and emotional for her. Ms. Mortimer hopes to resolve the misunderstanding. She will not be making any other statements at this time. So she lawyered up and they spun it the way they wanted to spin it, or maybe that's exactly what happened. We don't know. The update to the case is that it took a couple of months, not too long, but in July of that year, she signed an agreement for deferred prosecution relating to the trespassing charge, which stated that the charge would be dropped if she could refrain from contacting him or going onto his property and doesn't have any other brushes with the law through the end of the year. Tinsley is able to do this, and she never had to appear in court, and the charges have been dismissed. Also, fun fact, a lawyer that she had represent her was the former judge in Orlando, Melissa, who presided over the Casey Anthony trial.
What's his name?
Belvin Perry.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big name.
Does that sound familiar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So interesting to go from judge to like high profile criminal defense attorney. Maybe that's a normal path, but I don't hear that a lot. But I thought, wow, that's another interesting true crime connection. So just a year after all this drama in her personal life, she makes her grand entrance onto Real Housewives of New York. And if you didn't know the story, you'd think she had this minor scuffle with the law. And I even thought that this was all with her ex Topper.
Me too.
Yeah, I think that his identity was so protected during this, which I find really interesting that she got the brunt of the bad press. Nico's name, I didn't know till I researched this. I kind of assumed it was Topper and that they had a house in Palm Beach.
Right.
But it was really an abusive relationship, and it could have ended so much worse. I'm very grateful, honestly, for the way the story played out. And as we know, season 9 would be the season where she meets Scott, and they are now engaged. They appear to be in love. And I think what we've learned from Tinsley on this show is she loves love, and she loves to be in love. And I think, and I hope that as she's matured and aged, and maybe this experience has helped, you know, mature her in love and know what it looks like when it's healthy and what it looks like when it's not. Tinsley talks publicly about this incident now and says this was a real wake-up call and a turning point in her life. And I think I would speak for you and probably everybody listening that we really hope that that's true. Yeah. For me, I just hope that it works out with Scott. And I also hope that if it doesn't, she's okay on her own.
Absolutely. Scott is the coupon king, right? He's a coupon
cabin
king.
Yeah.
Coupon cabin king. And I feel like I'm saying that word weird. Coupon. I don't know which way I say it.
Oh, you can say that either way. Coupon or coupon. I say coupon. But yeah, so we see them meet on season 9. Carol sets them up, and it's like instant love connection. And we know it gets a little rocky on and off the next couple seasons, but they are together as of recording. Yeah. She moves to Chicago, and she also, you know, what suggests to me she maybe changed. Not that she should rearrange her life for love, but she says no to coming back to the show. Right. Because she wants to be closer to him geographically. It's hard for her to be in New York when he's in Chicago. She might be prioritizing the relationship in a healthy way above her being in the limelight. And maybe that will be really good for them to live their life outside of a TV show and outside of cameras. Who knows, though? There is talk that if there were a Midwest Chicago Housewives, that she would obviously be first pick.
100%.
Yeah, and I would be totally there for it. But really, what I said is how I really feel. Like, I hope she's just okay either way with herself in her own skin, because she has so much going for her.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the interesting thing is whenever she was going through everything with Scott on the show, you just, without knowing all of this history, you were like, oh, come on, please. Like, it's okay. You know, you'll get through it. And so it was a lot of like, it felt like her identity was with him. Yes. And so if he wasn't going to be with her, it was worthless and her life was worthless. And, you know, this is all she wants. And so I worry for her that it's like, more this ring, this marriage, this baby, this thing, than it's the person. But like you said, with her moving to Chicago and stuff, it did feel like she was kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to give this my best shot. And to have a relationship with him, we need to be in the same place. His job leaves him there. I'm going to give it a try. And it seems like a healthy thing for sure. But yeah, there was the part of my mind where it was like, oh no, like, do you care who the person is at the top of the cake with you, or do you just want the cake and the wedding and the eggs over easy with Dale?
Yeah, and Dale doesn't help. I mean, let's be honest. Oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you that she makes a lot of appearances in high society, just like she does in Real Housewives of New York. And she's on record quoted as being so gutted and devastated over the divorce with Topper. I mean, she comes out sounding, not that there are sides, but honestly, if she were picking one, it was not Team Tinsley. She was basically like, I'm just praying Tinsley comes to her senses because she married so well and Topper was everything. Like, that's basically, in a nutshell, what she said. Mm-hmm. And I just think she kind of makes things extra hard for Tinsley. Yeah. I think Tinsley still wants to please her mom, even at this stage of her life. But I couldn't agree more with you about her decision-making around that relationship. And the stakes feel so high for her in relationships. Like, if it fails, like she fails somehow. Yeah. So I'm hoping with time and distance that it levels out and that they just kind of achieve a normalcy that maybe she hasn't had in her other relationships.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, and remember whenever Dale wore the shoes from Topper's new wife's design or whatever?
Yes. Oh, who could forget? So yeah, Topper goes on to marry a shoe designer, Tabitha somebody, and Dale famously dons the ex's new wife's shoes.
Oh my gosh. It's so much.
Yeah. So that's the crimes and passions of Tinsley Mortimer. Also weird that her Instagram is still Tinsley Mortimer. She never went back to Mercer. I think Mortimer is like part of her identity, even though it isn't. And I guess the family's fine with it. But she's still very much referred to as Tinsley Mortimer, even though she hasn't been a Mortimer in over 10 years.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. But they were together for so long. I can see how she kept that. Yeah, but because we would not know her as anything other than Tinsley Mortimer.
No,
So.
like Tinsley Mercer, not a terrible name. It doesn't have the same ring.
No, you're right.
So that was Real Housewives of New York, mugshot numero uno, at least for now.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have to hit all of them because there are some doozies.
Give me time. Melissa, are you watching any TV these days?
It's so weird you would say that because I had to really write a list of all the things I'm watching. Rebekah, this I took on this weekend, and I'm going to give you a few clues and see if you can figure out what it is. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Bomb, Letterman jacket, salamander.
Whoa. I'm so intrigued by Bomb and Letterman jacket.
Yes.
Like, I want to watch. Salamander is not, it's not ringing any bells at all. Do you think it's on my radar?
It's on your radar. You should know it, but I don't think you've seen it yet.
Okay, give me one more clue.
Utah.
Oh my gosh. Murder with the Mormons
Murder
or
Among
something?
the Mormons. Yeah.
Among the Mormons. Is it good?
It's so good. It's a little confusing, at least to me at first, because there's a lot of people they talk to and they all are about the same age. They're all dudes. And so it was like, took me a little while to figure out who everyone is, but it's really good and wild. Like they talk about this one thing where the salamander comes in and I've heard of it. And what I learned about it is just so different. It is truly wild. And if you like fraud and all kinds of stuff, like
I love fraud and all kinds of stuff.
This is right up your lane. You have to watch it. I think it's just 3 parts. It's not very long.
Oh, good. I can do that. Actually, that's probably what I'll do this weekend after Potomac.
There you go.
Gosh, the list grows. It's suggested for me, of course, on Netflix.
Yes.
And I saw the best meme and it was like, just in the mood for something light I can escape. Murder Among the Mormons it is. Like,
it's true.
But that sounds really good. I'll definitely give it a try. So interesting. So I actually well, I won't say that. That's another clue. Okay. So I just watched a 6-parter clue. And my clues would be psychiatry, England once again, and rock and roll connection.
This might be the first time you've stumped me. I don't know. Can I have one more clue? I've lost.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so Netflix.
Okay.
Drama, like scripted.
I have no idea.
It's
Bridgerton?
really...
No, that doesn't make sense.
No, that could have made sense. It's called Behind Her Eyes. Have you seen it? I
haven't even heard
Netflix?
of it. No.
It's right next to the tile. I can picture it on Netflix. Is right next to Murder Among the Mormons. Like this was my suggested little cue, and it's a like modern day drama, psychological thriller.
Okay.
And the rock and roll connection is that the lead actress's name is Eve Newsom.
Okay.
And she's Bono's daughter.
Oh, interesting.
And she's so good, as is the other actress in it, whose name I do not know because she's not Bono's daughter, so I didn't look her up. But it's this story of a husband and wife who share like a dark secret. He's a psychiatrist. She's a wife, and she's like kind of home, and he keeps her on medication because of this secret past. The assistant at work and the psychiatrist end up having an affair, and then she kind of gets involved with the wife as a friend, and it gets very complicated and messy. And I will say, not to spoil, but the last 2 episodes kind of take a turn in tone, and it becomes a little sci-fi / supernatural, which it wasn't the first 4. So that threw me for a loop, and it like changes my ending review on it. Like I loved it, and then when that happened, I was like, I love this less.
Yeah,
because that's not my thing.
Right.
But it was a very fun and easy watch. My husband and I watched it in 2 weekend nights, like the first 3 and then the second 3. They're under an hour, and it was really, really good. And again, London.
Yeah.
And some castle scenes in Scotland.
Nice.
So it's fun.
Speaking of Bono's daughter, did you know that Phil Collins' daughter is in Emily in Paris? She is Emily.
Lily Collins.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Talk about a show that has been roasted.
It has. I didn't watch it. It was one of those, if you
either.
didn't watch it in that week where everybody was just going hardcore for it, then it just didn't matter.
You're right.
Yeah.
I did listen to the Watch What Crappens podcast commentary
Me
on
too.
it, which was so enjoyable.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lily Collins. So I mean, I guess it's not weird that like major rock stars have performing arts daughters.
Right.
But Eve Newsom, I saw her. I went down a rabbit hole and Googled her. Her full name is like Memphis Eve Sunny Day Newsom something.
Oh, my.
I was like, of course it is. But she just goes by Eve. And she has 3 brothers, same parents, and they're like 3 normal first name boy
How does that
names.
happen? I never understand that.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just a one-off.
All right.
But yeah, that's what I was watching.
Nice. Okay, Rebekah, are you ready for my clues for 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, I never get them and I never know, but I'm ready to hear them.
Okay, my first clue is failed jewelry empire. My next one is full quiver. Listen, you gave me Sugar Baron, so I don't want to hear it. And my last one is, this one is more obvious. Okay, I'm going to go with it anyway. Basement wife.
Basement wife?
Mm-hmm. Basement wife. Failed jewelry empire, full quiver, basement wife.
I mean, it's got like notes of Jersey in it, but I don't think it's not New Jersey.
It is not
Housewives.
Jersey. No. Oh, that would be good.
But it like could be. It could be a plot of one of the episodes or one of the seasons. No idea, but I cannot wait to hear it.
Perfect. Well, then 2 weeks from now, you will hear it.
It's a date. Okay. I'll be on the edge of my seat.
Perfect.
Well, thanks everybody for listening to today's episode of Criminality, and we'll talk to you again in just a couple of Fridays.
Have a great bi-weekly time. Have a great 2 weeks.
Bye.
My name is Sarah Turney, and I am the host of the Voices for Justice podcast. In the first season of my podcast, I brought you the case of my missing sister, Alyssa Turney. But in the middle of telling you guys her story, an arrest was actually made in the case. So I have temporarily paused episodes about Alyssa until after the trial is over. But as I wait for her to get justice, I have made it my mission to continue the podcast and bring you new cases in need of justice every single Thursday. Each week, I not only analyze a true crime case, but I partner with you, the listener, to take a step beyond just listening to true crime to really be a voice for justice. Every voice matters. So join the cause and listen to Voices for Justice today in all major podcast players. Because I truly cannot wait to see who we get justice for next.
Thank you for listening to Criminality. If you're enjoying the show, please head over to Apple Podcast or wherever you listen and give the show a rating and review. The reality is it would be a crime to keep your thoughts to yourself.
And come join the fun outside of the podcast and follow us on social media. We are at Criminality Show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Memes are welcome. We'll see you in 2 weeks with a new episode. Until then, you can catch my co-host Melissa on her weekly show, Moms and Murder.
And Rebekah Sebastian on her podcast, Dialogue, a true crime conversation. Don't forget, loving reality
isn't a crime.